There we go. Now we're getting it. Can you hear the music?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
North reminds me of my childhood. My older brother's influence for sure. All right, man. All right, I'm going to pause it here. All right. So our very first inaugural venture into our podcast, which is welcome to the Midwest Mindset, right?
Yes. Yes, sir, Paul.
Yeah. So, all right. So I'm just going to do a quick intro. And so today's theme really is just an introduction to your hosts. My name is Paul Tyson.
And I am Brett Joseph Garshinsky.
Ooh, I'm a Joseph too.
Oh, look at
Look at that.
Things we're figuring out already.
So BJ and PJ, is that how we're going to do this from now on?
Well, we already got a new name for the podcast. Sounds like
right. So what's great about this is we're just two knuckleheads turning record on a conversation that we've been having for over a year and a half now, and we just thought if this information is helpful for us to show up differently and be a little bit better each and every day, then maybe this might benefit other people as well. And as I hear that in my head, it sounds a little narcissistic, but hopefully the mission is true. And so we want to take a little bit of time here and just literally go over what is the mission of this podcast. And one is we want to lead with positive intent. So we want to show up with that positive intent of whatever we say, whether we come off and it's something that triggers you or anything like that. Our intent is to be positive. Our intent is to bring and serve others. And so that's the intent of what we're trying to do. That doesn't mean that's always going to land that way, right? I'm sure Brett's going to say something that sets me off, or I'm going to say something that sets, man, that's probably not going to happen. I'm going to say something that sets Brett or many other people off, I'm sure. So I'll probably be more controversial, but so that's first and foremost. We lead with positive intent, both Brett and I. Number two is that we really plan to show up in that servant leadership. So our whole idea is we want to do this because we truly do want to serve not only our friends and family, but the community that hopefully this will be reaching out to. So kind of coming to this with that servant leadership. So that's number two. And then number three, we want to have fun doing this. We want to make it interactive and see where this leads. But we want to make sure that this is something that both Brett and I enjoy doing and wake up excited to do each and every Friday. And this will be a weekly podcast. So welcome to the Mindset Mentor. And from here, I'd like to introduce Brett Joseph Garshinsky.
Hey, you did, Paul. What's going on, man? So Midwest Mindset. Thanks a lot, Paul. And thanks for the intro on this. Kicking it off, our first annual. I am excited. We have been talking for a while, and it was crazy how we met. We basically worked together, but separately, if you will. And all of a sudden we started talking about books, and all of a sudden it went down into what some would call it maybe a rabbit hole, but for us, it gives us energy, I think. And that's why we're here. And that's why we're talking to each other. And we thought, hey, if we can help one person a week, what better way to do it? One person a week, I think, is a great way to look at least from my lens. So yeah, I go just intros, Brett Garshinsky, Brett Joseph Garshinsky. The reason why I say my full name is because I go by BJ as well. Went by BJ as a kid, and then it all of a sudden put Brett on a resume, and what do you know? Your name changes to Brett. And the same guy. It's just kind of crazy. Brett Joseph Garshinsky, BJ or Beej. I've got 3 handles there, so call me what you want. And I love self-improvement, trying to really figure out my best self. Really, a lot of it, if I was going to look at it from a pillar standpoint, it's family. How can I help instill a great mindset for my kids, and then their kids, and then their kids, and leaving a generation to be more independent and self-thinking and self-driven, and critical thinking, I would say, from a decision-making standpoint, making sure our kids can take care of themselves and actually leave the world a better place. So That's about it. Kind of a long-winded intro to me, but I live here in South Minneapolis. I've got 2 kiddos. One is 5, one is 2. They keep us on our toes. Every day is different. We learn a lot from them. We try to teach them as much as we can, but yeah, it's fun. It's
Yeah.
fun. So
I love that the 3 different handles that you have, the
oh yeah.
BJ. I'm like, I met you in the professional setting at our old biotech,
Yeah.
and it was always Brett, but I could see, especially on the hockey rink, right, back in the day,
Oh yeah.
BJ or Beej. Yep.
Yep. Yep. Completely. Completely.
Well, I was going to do my bio next, but I wasn't expecting to kind of go into the nickname thing. But I definitely have a nickname, and I think people will laugh. We talk about laughing with you. Oh, they're laughing with you. This is going to be one of those where people are laughing at me, and I'm okay with that because this is kind of a goofy nickname. But so just introducing myself, my name is Paul Tyson. I'm a passionate mindset coach, family man. As far as my pillars go, and then I also teach group fitness. And it kind of goes back to my why, and my why is truly to inspire others to be more self-confident, both mentally and physically. And so that's one of the reasons why I thought this would be a great idea, and no better partner than Brett to do this with. But I lead my life with positive intent, and I realize that I will fail, and the whole point of that though is I'm going to be failing, falling forward, right? The whole idea is I'm going to keep moving forward and learn from those failures so I can pick myself up and figure out, where I want to go and how I want to get there. So hopefully that'll resonate with some of you here. But once again, my why is to inspire others. And I think there's an opportunity to do that with some of the things that we're going to talk about. And we're talking about a lot of the Midwest values that both Brett and I grew up with, or Beej grew up with. And then transitioning to that the growth mindset and how we can show up in more of that growth mindset. And I know it's a little blurry, but that bright side of this poster is the growth side versus the fixed mindset, whereas you're a victim, or I can't do this, or I won't do this, or I never get any luck going my way. So kind of bringing those two together, that Midwest values and maybe a little skepticism, right?
Yeah.
Going back to that the whole quote from Ted Lasso, what do you think of therapy? A general apprehension to Midwestern apprehension to therapy, and a modest reluctance to move forward with it. Hopefully we get past some of that with this. And so to pivot real quick though, my nickname was Putter when I was growing up.
Putter.
Yeah, Putter.
You got to tell us more here. What do you mean?
So the whole idea was that literally when I was a little kid, I had an Uncle Danny who now has since passed away. And so that's why I can say his name, because he's deceased. But no, he used to call me Putter. He had a nickname for everybody in the whole family, but mine was Putter because I used to always just kind of sit there and like with my lips.
Yeah.
And so it literally like stuck, and so it was a little bit of a term of endearment when I was young, and then it became kind of a not so fun nickname later on. But
sure.
That was my nickname. So.
I completely got you there. Completely got you.
Paul, so Brett, go ahead.
No, all yours, Paul.
No, I was just gonna say. So the whole part of this was as dialed in and as scripted as we are going to be with this whole thing, right?
Yeah.
The whole point of this is that back and forth and the good dialogue back and forth. Sometimes it might be a half an hour, dialogue. Sometimes it'll be 45 minutes. Might go past an hour if we start to have guests, that type of thing. But that's kind of just the framework of what we're hoping to do here. But that, otherwise it's going to be much more back and forth.
Yeah. When I think of Midwest mindset and I think of the Midwest folks, I actually did a little polling. I had a buddy in town. We went to the soccer match outdoor, and I was telling him
I saw pictures to that. That looked freezing, by the way.
Very, very cool. Very, very cool. But again, all how you look at it. So my buddy shows up, and him and I have been friends for almost 20 years now. I mean, it's crazy. And he shows up. He got the tickets. we've been looking at this on the calendar for 2 months. You know, we had COVID scares, we had all this stuff. We're like, well, yeah, we'll go if we can get there, right? And it's going to be an experience either way. And you just don't know in February what it's going to be like. Well, it was cold as all hell, and we were bundled up. But him and I went into it with the same framework. We're like, Midwest, let's make this an experience. Well, there were
Yeah.
19,000 other people that felt the same damn way because they didn't leave. I mean, we're down there. There's,
Right.
we're in the 90th minute and the place is still 19,000 people there. So I know it was crazy. It was fun. But I asked my buddy, I'm like, so talking about this podcast coming up, and I go, Midwest mindset. And he goes, very interesting. He goes, tell me more. And I kind of gave him the just kind of rundown a little bit. And some of the words that he started coming up with, he go, hard work. He goes, Midwest, it's hard work, but you better not be You better not be complaining about it. No complaints about the hard work. And somewhat, this is coming from him, right? So he's like, and some people feels like you don't have to enjoy it either, right? You don't need to enjoy it, but you better be working hard. Blue collar, modest. Don't take yourself too serious, right? I mean, like more casual. But people are consistent. They come to work. They're at work. Some people get to work at 5 a.m., and they're there. They're there for years. They don't miss a day. And that's pride. So being a proud group of people was another piece. Somewhat reserved sometimes, some kind of quiet maybe. That could be kind of labeling. Slower to change, kind of slower to newer ideas and newer things that come out. Not that it could be reluctant. People are reluctant. Skeptical, or it's like, why do I have to change? This has been working forever. What kind of tools? What tools are you trying to give me here? I've been using the hammer for so long. Why do I need something else? Why do we need the drill?
Well, it's funny you say that, because it reminds me of kind of some of the the growth mindset piece of it is the the comfort zone that we like to keep ourselves in, right? And so when I think of some of the things that you're referencing there, a little reluctant to change, hardworking, this is what I do, this is who I own, this is who I own, this reality of I have a hard journey or a hard road. It's almost that comfort zone that we find ourselves in, right? You know what I mean? Fight or flight. Like literally, it's easier to go back and stick behind that that rock or in that cave of safety. And so there's a little bit of that, and it's a little bit easier to stay inside that cave when it's minus. I think it was -5 below this morning when I went to work out.
Oh yeah. So it's a different mindset. It really is. It's not good. It's not bad. It is. It is what it is. I know some people don't like that, but that's the way things go. And the more I think about like mindset and where we're currently at, and it's something you said earlier. It's like you could be a victim, because people could be. I mean, it's freezing outside, but I think the majority of people look at it like, hey, let's go embrace this. Let's go enjoy it, and let's try to make some type of an experience out of it with outdoor activities, cross country skiing, downhill skiing, skating. We all embrace it. I mean, the complaining is more just, hey, we're tough and we can handle it. And that's what I think another word. Midwest people are tough people. They are. So
well, I think even back to what you were describing at that soccer match, what was so interesting, because I saw a bunch of pictures from other friends too, and each one of my the groups had like some kind of beverage or a cocktail or something in their hand, and I'm like, not only is it freezing cold, they're bundled up and all this stuff, all of them were smiling, you know what I mean? So they were loving the loving the suck, you know what I mean, the sucky part of it, you know what I mean? But yet having a drink, having a cocktail. And I go back to what you were saying. Didn't you say that your beer was like frosting over or like freezing over a little bit at the top?
15 minutes frozen beer. I mean, it was a beer frosty. So I'm like, oh man, I thought I'd have two. One was enough. So it was pretty funny. And it was almost like, hey, let's see how long it takes for this beer to freeze outside. I mean, it was almost, it was like we're enjoying it, right? You're enjoying it and you're dressed the right way. So It's a good way to do things. I feel bad for anybody from Honduras, but is what it is. So
that's what's funny about it. The opposing team, and so my father-in-law just came back from the airport, and he was talking about he was talking to the rental car person. He said that whole team just came through here, and they came from Canada, and they were so surprised because it was actually colder here than it was in Canada.
Oh, really?
When they went there, yeah.
Oh my God, I love it. Yeah,
you're from Honduras. Everything's colder than Honduras, right?
Yeah. Hey, we're going to the U.S. Where are we going? L.A., New York? No.
Right.
Florida? No. St. Paul, Minnesota, -2.
St. Paul,
Oh,
I love
man.
it.
Paul, what else is going on? Paul?
I tell you what, we're it's busy. What's interesting is so January is always a tough month. It's a long month, but February, I don't know if it just seems like we're a little bit closer to spring break and spring and some of those things. But where I work out, one of the things that we're doing is this get fit with a friend. February is kind of a motivational. We've gotten past our New Year's resolutions that we might have had, and February started and we did this fit with a friend challenge, which
Sure.
it's so fun. We talk about accountability groups and stuff. And so what I loved about it is it got people to the gym that normally don't go to the gym, or they're like, oh, I'll do that. It's a discounted rate or something. We'll do it with another group of people. And it's amazing when you get more people together. How exciting. I mean, it really goes back to what we talked about, before is, we're really tribal people. Like, it's one thing to be, I consider myself an introvert. I really do. I might not come across that way, but I really do like my quiet time. I like my time to myself, but yet I still am that tribal person that really enjoys a group of people. And when they're all motivated doing similar things, man, that fills my tank. I'm a little bit jonesing from this morning's workout that I was teaching, but it was a packed house, packed people on Zoom. And I'm telling you, the energy, like all of a sudden the speakers were a little bit louder, you know what I mean? Because you could feel the energy in the room. So I'm like, we gotta capitalize on this. So I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but that was one of the things that was going on with me.
More the people together bring. I like how you say introvert, extrovert. People bring me energy, and I would say also that I've kind of transitioned from being an extrovert to more of an introvert during quarantine. It was kind of that way, and it's funny. My wife became more of an extrovert than I did, and I was more like kind of like I like just being with the family now. Like, we don't need to be out and about, but when I get with people, oh my Lord, I mean, it just gets so fun. You get to hear everybody else's stories. Reminds me of like when I like weddings. I'm one of these people that I enjoy going
Right.
to a wedding because
Sure.
I get to. How many new people do I get to meet at a wedding? That you get to hear their story and their stories. People are inspiring everywhere. There are inspirational stories all over the place. I think about, and I don't want to get on a tangent too much, but just like, you can
Sure.
hear a great story from any person, and it's going to inspire you to be a better person. I just
Or it
we
can, right?
It
It
can't if you
doesn't.
look at it the right way. You're right.
Yeah.
It's you could feel bad for that person. Like I was thinking, we had a Lyft driver on the way to the soccer match, and he told me a really rough story. I mean, he's got 8 kids. Um, wife left him. His mom just passed away. He's in Michigan. And this,
Jeez.
yeah, oh gosh, and the guy was just, he's like, but I got to keep thinking positive, because if I don't keep thinking positive, what am I going to do? What am I going to go negative? He goes, how am I going to get up in the morning? How am I going to move?
Yeah.
I've got to be positive when I wake up. I've got to think about the things that I do have in front of me.
Well, and that transitions into the whole Marcus Aurelius topic of control what we can control.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a theme that you'll see on these podcasts a little bit, is the whole stoicism concept of people that have a philosophy that are actually doers in the community, but yet are reflectionary, where like reminding ourselves, like, control the things we control, so that Uber driver, like that's our Lyft driver. That's a perfect example. Like he's got 8 kids. His mom died. His wife left him. I mean,
Yeah,
sounds like a country song. This sounds like a country song in the making,
it was.
um, but it's the reality. And so it's like he's doing what he can. He's controlling the things he can control, and that's getting his butt out of bed, getting his kids off to school, and starting to drive his, the Lyft.
Yeah, and then I think about the folks that showed up to exercise this morning with you, and they get up. What's the thought process when you wake up and maybe you don't look at your phone because you're like, I don't want to know how cold it is outside. Of course I got to throw on a damn jacket. I'm gonna have to do it anyways, so what does it matter if I look at the temperature? I bet it's cold. Like, let's just go. Let's get there. Let's work out. I want to go see Paul. I want to get into a positive frame of mind. And Paul, your quote is, it's the best. It's, who has ever left a workout or an exercise facility and said, oh man, I wish I wouldn't have done that. I mean,
Right.
it's like, no, anything you can do. A lot of times if you do something for yourself in the morning and get yourself up and running and do something positive, it just sets your day up. It sets your day up for a great success. And it at least puts you in the right frame of mind to have a successful day. Otherwise you get up, what's the alternative to going and exercising in the morning? Putting on the news? Oh, good luck getting out of that rabbit hole. I mean,
right,
come on,
right.
right?
The reality of it, right? The reality of you have that option, right? And there's plenty of people that do that option.
Yeah.
But I mean, and it's not to say that that's it might be fulfilling for some people, but at the end of the day, it doesn't set them up for success, and that's not what we're all about. We're not always trying to be the Pollyanna. This is the way you have to do it. But one of the things we talk about is just trying to put some habits in place on how to show up differently. And this is a perfect example to your point. When you think about those people that wake up and come, because this is an early class, it's a 5:15 class. But
Sure.
one of the things that we say as trainers or as fitness people, we talk about the hardest part is walking through that door. Because once you walk through the door, then we got you. You got the family, you got the tribe, you got the people that are gonna welcome you in, and from there, nobody leaves saying, "Oh, I wish I wouldn't have done that." Yeah, it would have been nice, maybe but after you've done it, God, you feel so much better and you feel so much more accomplished. The same as if you stay home and you actually get up, don't hit snooze and hop on that, exercise machine, whether it's a Peloton, treadmill, whatever it might be. I mean, that might be your, purpose as well. So,
yeah. I mean, even just getting up and stretching. I mean, some people just get up, stretch for 10, 15 minutes. That just get the coffee going, stretch yourself out, get yourself moving, and start with a good morning message to yourself. I mean, that's how I roll. It's journal something. I sit down with Lewis a lot of times, and it just go, all right, what's our morning message to it? What is it? And he'll say something crazy. He'll say something you're like, what in the world?
Yeah.
I mean, get to hang out with Dad. That was the morning message one day. Let's see what else here. Help people and don't hit anyone. That's a pretty darn good one. Like that's
pretty
a morning
straightforward.
That's morning message from a 5-year-old. It's
love it.
It's great. But sometimes that's all you got to do. Just kind of trick your mind a little bit. Hey, let's prime it with positive things. Because if you look for positive things, you're going to find positive things. If you look for negative, you're going to find that too. You're going to find it. It's everywhere.
Whether you want positive or negative, if you look for those things, either way, you're going to end up finding it, right? Is that a Henry Ford quote or something like that? Like either way, you will get what you're looking for. And if you're looking for negative things, if you want to wake up and see negative things, turn on the news. You'll get that, right?
Yeah.
If you want to wake up and have maybe a better day than you did yesterday, because yesterday was kind of a crappy day or a shitty day, well, wake up and maybe turn on a podcast or meditate, or to your point, sit back and journal. And it's so interesting because journaling, is different for everybody. And I actually had a tough time with it. I had like 15 different journals around my office that, I started it, and it was January, and then January 14th, January 15th, January 19th, National Quit Day, and then that book was started. Then it went to the back of the pile. Since I've gone electronic a little bit with my iPad, I find myself doing it every morning. And I don't know what your thoughts are on journaling. It sounds like you obviously do with tracking some of the stuff with your kids and stuff. What else do you put in your journal that helps
Oh,
you?
Paul, I have a preset journal. It's actually a Brennan Bouchard journal, that gives you just gives you a guideline as to how to kind of start your day. What's one thing you can get excited about today? Write it down. Oh my gosh, I forgot that I had that this evening. I can't believe, today I put podcast recording. Well, that's what I'm looking
There you
forward to
go.
today. But it was like, hey,
Perfect.
I got something to look for. Immediately you have something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Immediately you have something to look forward to. And I guarantees are tough, but I'd say 99% of people have something they can look forward to. It's Jeopardy at 5 o'clock. It's,
Right.
it's Wheel of Fortune. It's whatever it may be. It's getting to pick up the
It's
kids
it
at
could.
school. It's getting to go to the hockey game for the kids. It's whatever. You get to have a pizza tonight. It's something. That's another piece. Like, what's one word that could just describe the kind of person you want to be today? What's one word? I mean, positive, right? Positive intent, like you were saying. That could be a word. So there's just a couple of things there. If people can get one thing out of it, I'd say start your day with a message, and try to have set an intention for the day, and prime your brain to think about things that are going to be solution oriented and positive thinking going forward. That's what I would say from a journaling perspective. That's as simple as I can get it, and I think that's really all you need. I mean, there are many other questions that are in here that get really intense, and then you can grade yourself at the end of the day to see how you do. That's a little more elaborate as you get more advanced, but so just set a good intention for the day. I mean, what do you think, Paul? I know you do journaling. Is there
Well,
anything that you do?
it's yeah, no, I appreciate that. What I like about what you just said though is the message piece. I like what's your message, or what do you have to look forward to? I don't have a pre-filled one. Mine is just a blank sheet, and so I
Yeah.
fill it with kind of whatever comes to mind right away. But I do something. One thing I do uh, uh, is and this I got from my sister-in-law, talking about bullet journaling. Like instead of trying to, I'm and you'll be able to pick up pretty quickly that as far as sentence structure and the right, I try not to be grammatical. I just want to get the content out there, because some of it is the healthy piece for me is to get it off my mind and to kind of
Yeah.
put it down. And then if something grabs me, I can kind of run with it and I put together some diagrams and that type of thing, because I have the fluidness of erasing really easily on my iPad. But I like the idea of going back to a message or kind of a theme to start each day. That's not a bad idea. Brendan Bouchard, I know, has one. I know the Daily Stoic has one. I think Mel Robbins has one out there too. Those are three
Okay.
people that are, if you're going to recommend any, I would hold tight to any of those three. If people like that format, or if they like just a blank journal, there's plenty of opportunities. Just go grab a notebook or even an iPad.
I
But I like the bullet journaling. Like went to a basketball game, had a good time with my kids. I did this thing, you know what I mean, and then just kind of went through there. Oop.
Paul,
So
a thought on that. Now, it just popped in my head,
yeah,
like the message to yourself for the day, if that's what people want to do, or if they have something, setting an intention for your day. What if you just write it on
right.
a post-it note and put it in your pocket? You know what I mean? You got it in your pocket then for the day. It's with you. Halfway through the day,
Yeah,
you got something going on. You look at, okay, here's my intention for the day. It could be something that quick as you're leaving the house, and people are just getting started. I believe in journaling. I think it's great. I really do. I think it's great to reflect and also to look forward. So, you know,
yeah. Yeah, and once again, another way to kind of start your day off with intent. We say that word a lot here, but that whole idea of to set ourselves up for success, right?
yeah,
How do we do that? Well, I know that I can do that a lot easier if I don't pick up my phone and look at the news or look at Facebook or look at social media.
yeah,
And I know that's a hard one for most people. So I don't want to be like snippet about it, but I found that when I do that, you know what I mean? Or it's so easy even with work too, right? I don't know if you see this, where all of a sudden you have 5 emails. You wake up and the first thing you do, you look at your phone, you see those 5 emails. How do what do you do?
I had a vision, right? I was going to do this, 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 and this, and I had about 20 minutes until the kids wake up. Grab my phone, open it up, and I see all the emails. All those 4 or 5 things I was going to do are gone because I am now in the tractor beam got me. And it's like, don't look at it, right? It's a magnet.
Right.
What the hell does it matter if you check it at 5:30 in the morning or you check it at 6:30 in the morning? No, dude, most of the people aren't working yet anyways. So wait with those things. Those things will be there when you're done. Take the time for yourself. I think it goes back to Midwest. We don't think that we can take time for ourselves. We have to work. We have to just get to work. You slept. Now get your butt up, get your ass to work now. And there's so much pride there. And not that that's a bad thing. It's just you can take time for yourself. I think that's the thing, Paul, that people don't want to take time for themselves. They think it's a selfish thing. All those people that are at the gym all the time, they're where are they? Like it's why aren't they with their family? It's like, well, I'm sure they're going to their family. You got to take care of yourself. You just do. Not to get down that road unless we want to, but
no. And I was gonna say that like that's almost a whole nother like podcast because I think what you're kind of tipping on a little bit is that whole idea of pleasing others, right? And we know that that's a huge Midwestern thing, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like the fact that those emails are there are twofold, right? One, I like to check things off my list. I love that, right? Two, what if somebody's depending on me to do this or expecting me to do this? I need to get back to them. Meanwhile, your kid that's expecting you to, jump up on your bed or do, whatever your morning routine is, you know what I mean? Is expecting you to be the loving dad. Well, instead of doing the mindful stuff that you were going to do, you looked at the email that set you off and maybe even put you in oh, this kind of sucks kind of a day mood. And then all of a sudden your kid walks in and how do you interact with your kid?
Gosh, it could be a whole new pod. It could be another episode. I mean, it's a domino effect. It's a domino effect. It's completely a domino. And it could be a positive thing. Dominoes are a good thing too. But when they go the opposite way, it's not good for you. It's not that it just, there could be there's a better way of doing it, is what I'm saying. And
sure. Were you a Domino's guy when you were a Domino's kid when you grew up?
Not really. No, not really. I wish I would have been. It seemed like a pretty cool thing.
I didn't have the patience. I put like maybe 5 in a row, and I'm like, oh, this is great, but let's see the reward right away. Let's see the result right away. Like you see some of these elaborate, YouTube videos or whatever, of like it goes through one room, it goes through the other, and they're all flipping over, and all these dominoes, and it looks this beautiful surrounded thing. I'm like, I would never have the patience. Or halfway through, I'd be like, somebody would say, "Hey, Paul," I'd go like this, and I'd knock them over, and I'll go and like. I'm like, but the idea is cool and the videos are cool, but it's just not my jam.
Yeah, no, I was really into speakers when I was a kid. Always been into music and like setting up different speakers and getting things going. That was my thing. Always been kind of a music guy. So.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, we really could have used that
when like listening to it. So.
There you go. We could have used that speaker IT person when we first started this earlier because we were all over the place. We're like, the headsets weren't working, the video was working, this one wasn't recording, but it's our first podcast, and I'm going to say the same. And this is I'm so glad this came up. I'm going to say this just like I said with the pandemic. I say this all the time. This is my first pandemic I've ever experienced. So if I make a mistake or say something stupid, I apologize. By the second one, I'll have it all figured out. But for right now, I don't. So this is our very first podcast that we're doing. This is our first episode 1, right?
Yep.
So by maybe episode 200, I'll be a lot better. But right now, I'm all over the place. So we're figuring it out as we go. For sure.
Yes, we are. What are you reading right now, Paul?
Yeah. It's actually it's over there. It's right behind my computer because I have my reading station so I can get away from my screen. But it's the John Wooden book on leadership and just kind of his story, his background on coaching, leadership, and then also philosophy, which I think is so amazing, especially because he should have been the head coach for the University of Minnesota Golden Gophers. But the story is, and this is real quick, but the story is he had two offers. He was coming from Indiana. His wife wanted to stay in the Midwest and was excited about the offer from Minnesota. Got an offer from UCLA, and they were going back and forth. And he said, "My wife wants to stay in the Midwest. We're going to stay in the Midwest." Yeah. And the U of M tried calling him, and what happened is there was a huge snowstorm back in the day. This is 1960 something. The phone lines were down, so he didn't get the call. UCLA called and gave the final commitment. He said, "I guess we have to take the job that we can versus the job we don't have." And he drove past Minnesota and went all the way to California, and the rest is history.
Oh, wow. I know. Oh, my gosh.
It's crazy. It's
no
crazy.
Cell phone,
so, yeah, no cell phone back then for sure, right? Not even a beeper.
No.
Not even a beeper. When I first started out of college, I had beepers. We didn't have cell phones. I had a beeper. So that ages me a little bit there. You had a beeper?
Oh, yeah, I had a pager.
You're younger than I am.
Oh, yeah, I thought it was so cool. My wife loves to laugh at me about that. She goes, "You had a pager? Who was paging you?" Like, nobody was paging me. Nobody
was paging me.
Had zero.
I had bosses paging me. And then if they really wanted to see you, they'd put 911. You're like, "What? Are you serious?" And then you call them. They're like, "Oh, yeah, I just need this." I'm like, "Yeah, what was the 911 about?"
Yeah, come on. Let's get serious.
Yeah, then we just went. How about you? What book are you reading right now?
I'm reading The One Thing. The One Thing.
Ah.
I was actually.
Oh no,
I was just talking with a buddy about it, actually. And he's like, "Well, one thing, you can't just focus on one thing." And it's like, well, actually, everything comes down to one thing. I mean, so it's moving one thing in the right direction. That's where I got in the domino effect thing, where if you really narrow it down, a lot of companies start with one thing. A lot of parents start with one child, and then they end up with three. But I mean, you got to start.
Give me an example of that. What do you mean by one thing? Like a company that starts with one thing. What do you mean?
Well, let's talk about Google. Google started with search. One thing. Look at Google. Just crazy, right? I mean, let's talk about YouTube. Started with just putting on content, one place where people could go and just put videos. That's all it was.
Okay.
It was one thing that they did. And it grew into, I mean, they sold back in, I don't even how many years ago it was. They sold for like $1.7 billion. YouTube did. And now every 17 days they make $1.7 billion.
Oh,
so it's craziness. But I only say it because it goes down to one thing. So what's the first thing you have to do? One thing, get out of bed. One thing, make your bed. One thing, it's just narrowing your vision down to this microscopic steps, these small wins, which we could get into, but that's what I think the growth mindset is all about, is focusing on the one thing that you can do today to make a difference. Now, what is the one thing that you can do next? And really being intentional with those one thing after one thing after one thing. And when you can really get microscopic with your steps, I think you really start to make a difference in your life. That's my soapbox.
No. What I love about that is because on the reverse side of things, what we do know is that when we think of more than one thing, we don't think of anything, really well, right? So when you think about, oh God, I have this to do tomorrow, I have that to do tomorrow, I have all that, doesn't mean that you can't, plan and be organized. But when you let it consume our minds, what happens is all of a sudden, all of it just like it's too much, and we feel like the weight of the world. So to your point, I think what I hear you saying is that by focusing on one thing, it allows you to be present in that moment with that one thing, right? And so it doesn't feel like the burden of all these things. It's just, this is all I have to do, right? I have to get up. Well, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I get out of bed. That whole idea.
I love doing that, by the way. The
countdown. Yeah. Oh yeah. The 5-second rule with Mel Robbins. I love it. Yeah. Man, I think we're coming up to, I think what is probably the end of our first episode. Any closing thoughts or comments that you'd love to throw out there?
No, I think I feel like live in the present tense. Live in the now. That's something I'm currently working on a lot. And it goes back to like one thing. When you think about what do you need to do tomorrow? What do you need to do the next day? Where am I going to get my next, next, sale? Where am I going to get this coming from? When you're with the people that you love and when you're with the people that you care about the most, be there, be present, be in your conscious mind. And that's something I want to say, that's something I'm currently working on, that I struggle with. I'm not saying struggle is a bad thing. We all know that struggle is life. But just be
Right.
present, be with the people that you love. And that's what I'm working on. That's what I'm going to currently work on. And that'll be something I work on for a long time. But as long as I can move forward and get better at it, and if each one of those kind of moments where I kind of fade off and then come back, if they get shorter in time, I'm winning. I'm moving in the right direction. So those are my closing thoughts. Be present, be in the moment.
Awesome. I first of all, this is interesting because I feel like we're learning as we go here, but I love the dialogue back and forth, and I am really excited about continuing on and building this into something bigger. I just had one quote that I had that I'm working on currently myself. It's a quote from Epictetus that just talks about, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters, right? Not too recently, I just made a post about how I'm believe in stoicism, the growth mindset, all these different things, but yet I'm at a high school basketball game and I'm losing my mind over a stupid call by the ref. Like I still go back to that subconscious feeling of or that subconscious mind of, this is the way I react when something isn't what we call fair. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Or wasn't just, right? And
Yeah.
so it's not what happens, it's how I react to it that matters. So I have a choice. And the phrase that I go back to is, you have the option to not have an opinion about this, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
okay for you not to have an opinion about this. Yes, you want the team to win. Yes, you don't think that's probably the right call. You have the right to not, get all bent out of shape about it. And so that's one of the things I'm working on internally. And once again, could always get better, but we have these little triggers that set us off from time to time, and it's good to just be aware of it and learn and try to get a little bit, just going back to one thing, maybe just try to get better at one thing today. 1% better than I was the day before, that type of thing, which I'm a big fan of. So
Absolutely love it. I love it.
Awesome, man. Well, episode 1 is in the books. This is a blast, and I look forward to a weekly Friday morning podcast with you next week, man.
Thank you so much, Paul.
All right. Hey, take care.
You too.
We'll talk soon.
You bet.